this is Dr. Brenden Cochran from Interactive Health Clinic. Sorry, I had to take a break last week, enjoying this fabulous summer weather while it's still around. I'm also not going to be available next week, the extended holiday weekend, and I'm going to be taking advantage of that. I hope you're taking advantage of some of this weather, getting out in nature, enjoying nature while you still can. Until winter and fall are on their way. So let's get into the topics today. Keeping you up to date for your proactive health tips. Hopefully you guys are maximizing your terrain. If you haven't yet, you can take advantage of some of the therapies we offer at Interactive Health Clinic. We have nutrient shots and IV nutrients, which also can help maximize your terrain by giving you these nutrients such as zinc, vitamin C, directly to your cells. Fantastic thing going on this weekend. I talked to a doctor that they're trying to actually get clinical trial going in the hospital system using vitamin C and zinc. This is fantastic. We need more of this because it's such a low, easy intervention for patients, cheap, and it seems like we're getting incredible results with people. The reason it developed out of this is actually there's several ER doctors that came down with it, were treated with this, and very, very quickly improved in their situation. So really hoping we can get that through, then we can get you some more information about what is really going on there. Other things that are new, we're getting more confirmation that people can get reinfected. I know I talked about this in the previous videos. However, we didn't have that much concrete evidence. We kind of had these, maybe it was possible that it was happening. Now we have at least 4 confirmed. They've done genomic sequencing on it. And the one in the US was actually a 25-year-old, and they got it back in March. They had pretty mild symptoms, you know, general typical course, 10 days of what has been described. But they didn't need to go to the hospital. They were able to manage it from home. Then they got it again about a month and a half later, and that time their O2 stats, or their oxygen saturation in their blood, dropped, which did require them to utilize hospitalization during that case the second time. So what does this mean? Well, one, we found out the first time didn't really mount much antibodies, and we're kind of seeing that, right? It's a coronavirus, which is also a cold virus family. And we know that you can get the cold multiple times within a year. We do know that there is T-cell immunity, and this is possibly the reason why you have 40%, up to 50% of people which are asymptomatic when they do get this. However, they can shed the virus to other people for a short period of time. Now, the thing that we're trying to learn here is there also, this reinfection process, is it worse the second time? So if you've gotten it and you were asymptomatic the first time, does that mean you're out of the woods? And what we're seeing with these cases now that are confirming is you aren't, because that person again got worse the second time. So was it the same virus and it just was present for, you know, a month and a half? And that does not seem to be the case now that we have the genomic sequencing of the specific virus that was in that person. It also doesn't seem that it was the exact same virus. It seems that, again, we picked up the other strain. I talked about these other strains very early in my video series, that there's a strain A, B, and there is a strain C. We haven't really seen much of the strain C. It's usually A and B, which have been kind of the front strains. The A strain was the original one out of China, and then the B strain is the one that kind of made its way through Europe and New York, and then it kind of blew up down in South US as well. So this individual got a different strain the second time. So that means we know that you get one strain, you're not necessarily protected from the other. And that's very typical with influenza or the common cold. So it's following that pattern. The other concerning thing that is coming up that's brand new is, you know, our CDC went back and forth. They initially said if you were exposed by somebody, you don't need to get tested. And since then, they clarified that more, and they said, yeah, you really should get tested. Part of this was because most of the healthcare practitioners got really infuriated by this, because you're trying to do contract tracing, you're trying to get this thing to go down. And part of that is trying to get control of this before you enter the cold and flu season, where you're trying to figure out, well, do you have a cold? Do you have the flu? Do you have coronavirus? Because that makes it really challenging. And bottom line, though, anytime you're sick with anything, you really should take the time for your body and stay home. So that's not going to change, period. I think this year it will be a little more enforced because people aren't going to try to force themselves to work when they have the flu, or maybe they have a really bad cold, to actually take the time, because you're not going to know, is it COVID-19? Now, a shocking thing that I don't like seeing is the FDA. And if you've heard me before, you know I have some beef with the FDA. They're willing to fast track the new coronavirus vaccine before phase 3 trials are done. Now, I really don't like that in science, in medicine. A phase 3 trial is to prove that it's efficacious and confirm in a larger group that it's also safe, right? So phase 3 is kind of your gold standard before it's prime time. To jump the gun is neglectful in clinical medicine, and it's not a good deal to do. It puts people at risk, because then you become the lab rat while these drugs are being tested. And we haven't seen something like this, where we've used this specific type of vaccine, which is an mRNA vaccine, which is totally different than what we've done before. And usually most things are going through multiple steps of testing for safety before they're allowed to just be right out and given to people. So that's particularly concerning, because we don't know what are all the side effects. You know, how are people going to handle it? If we do give this and we do get an antibody response, does this increase the risk that you're going to be worse the second time you get exposed to it, or the first time you get exposed to it, because maybe the vaccine was your first exposure? We do know that this happens with dengue fever, at least, where you have this antibody amplification process. So you get exposed, it's not as bad. The second time you get walloped by the thing. So those are concerning things that I have. I'm sure it's a very concerning thing for anybody else in science-based medicine to see this move being done. Again, the best interest is not always your safety. It tends to be often who has the buck. And we kind of saw that with some other medications in the past that were NSAID medications that were used that they were specifically only COX-1, which means one component of that versus the full thing. And they were touted to be safer than your typical NSAID, which is like ibuprofen or naproxen. The problem is they came out and multiple people had heart attacks and died from it, and then they pulled the drug. So we've seen this before, where there's been unsafe things that even have gone through phase 3 trials that have then been pulled later on because we found out that they're unsafe. So most of my patients, and myself personally, I don't like to dive into something brand new until I've seen that it's been done for a while and that it really is safe. And then we can go from there. All right, guys, hopefully this was a helpful video today. Share it, like it. Hey, hit me up with a topic you want me to talk about. You guys have a great week, great long weekend. Hopefully you're getting out and about, enjoying the weather while it's still here. Get your vitamin D while it's still here with that sunshine. All right, have a great day.